Well, hello there, YouTubers. This is Rusty Glove Box, and we're going to get back on the air compressor engine. It's been a little while since I've worked on it steady, but I haven't given up on it. I've been thinking on how I'm going to get that governor to work just right. And I'll show you the progress that I've done so far. Well, as you can see, we've got the cylinder head gasket on there and the head all bolted down. For a little more clearance, I went and got some Allen-headed bolts and some SAE washers to use on holding that cylinder head down. That made it a little easier instead of using an open-end wrench to screw down the hex head nuts and bolts. And using that Allen-headed bolt just allowed a lot more clearance. As you can see now, I've built the cam lobe, and that cam lobe, what it consists of is I cut out a round piece of metal, trued it up on the lathe, made a lobe out of a keyway, brazed it onto the plate, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of metal and make a rocker arm out of it. I have a little ball bearing that is going to roll on the cam lobe here. So it's going to be I guess you'd call it a roller rocker. And anyway, the little bearing is just a ball bearing that I got at the hardware store. And I got a little Allen-headed bolt for it for the extra clearance. And also, in addition, I've got this little piece of metal that, if you can see, on the governor, I've got this groove right here. And I'm planning on using this with, if not this little bolt, something similar to it, that's going to ride in this groove. And when the governor goes up, it's going to work this little linkage here, and it will work as a lockout on the rocker arm. And what you have to do to make sure that when your governor locks out your rocker arm, you have to make sure that your lobe still lifts a little higher than the lockout will lock out. Because if you had the lockout overpower the lobe, if it locked it out further down, then it never would unlock. You're depending on this lobe working this arm to allow it, when the governor weights drop back down, for it to start firing again. Well, what it's going to do is put the gasket on the bottom pan, and then when this material dried, then I was going to take a razor blade and trim it. And the reason why I was putting this gasket material on there is to kind of help fill in any irregularities in the where the plate and the bottom of the compressor mount up. I had got my gas tank sealer, so when this is all finished and set up, I'll pour some of that gas tank sealer in there, and that should take care of that. But what my plans are is I'm going to set this over and let the weight of the engine press the gasket flat. So we'll see what kind of disaster this will be. Well, that didn't turn out too bad. And so what the plans are is, when this sets up, I'll come here and I'll trim this with a razor blade, and that way the gasket will be exactly the right size. I use some of this gasket shellac to hold it on there. And so when I get that done, my plate that I had made earlier, I'll put some of that shellac on it, bolt it to the bottom. Here along the bottom, I may add a couple of extra bolts. It probably could use it. Maybe one here left and right of that, and at least one on the back side. Probably use 1/4 inch bolts. But anyway, that will be the plate that I'm going to put on the bottom. Going to let that set up and dry. This is my little check valve, and I drilled the fitting out so it would receive a little steel ball, and then braze that tubing up inside there so it works like a check valve. And this engine with the manifold vacuum with that check valve, it'll start drawing fuel up there, and it'll eventually fill that tube up. And by setting this needle valve, you should be able to regulate the fuel somewhat. I may have to do a little modifying to that needle valve, put more of a taper on there. It's not a real pronounced taper on that needle valve, but we'll just have to see how that works. But anyway, that's kind of how the progress on the air compressor engine's gone so far. Well, I appreciate y'all coming by and checking out the little air compressor gas engine conversion, and I hope it's gonna go ahead and go well on in through the build. So anyway, I appreciate y'all coming by. This is Rusty Glovebox, and I'm out of here.